The former Prime Minister of Malaysia has just been sentenced to over 12 years in prison for his role in a multi-billion-dollar corruption scandal with links to both Hollywood and the Obama White House. This news comes just days after Goldman Sachs reached a $3.9 billion settlement with Malaysia over the 1MDB scandal. The banking giant agreed to pay $2.5 billion in cash and guaranteed the recovery of at least $1.4 billion in assets stemming from 3 bond sales tied to the embezzlement scam in which party boy financier Jho Low absconded with millions of dollars, throwing lavish parties with celebrities like Paris Hilton and Leonardo DiCaprio, and even bankrolling Martin Scorsese's flick The Wolf of Wall Street. In previous videos, we've mentioned how back in 2016, when Leonardo DiCaprio's connections to Jho Low were first brought under scrutiny, DiCaprio abruptly pulled out of a Hillary Clinton fundraiser just days before the event. Meanwhile, at the beginning of last year, it was reported that DiCaprio had to secretly testify to a U.S. grand jury about his fugitive friend Jho Low and Malaysia's 1MDB scandal. At one point in the 1MDB investigation, feds were also looking at possible connections to the Obama White House. Wall Street Journal article back from 2016 explains how federal investigators were looking into whether money improperly obtained from the Malaysian fund was paid to a businessman who later arranged an Oval Office visit for relatives of the Malaysian Prime Minister, a businessman named Frank White Jr., an entrepreneur who helped start an investment firm called Dusable Capital Management, along with partners including a rap star. Mr. White also raised funds for Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. Another new article from Zero Hedge gives some more info on the latest updates on the case this week. Titled Former Malaysian Prime Minister Guilty on All Counts in Sweeping 1MDB Corruption Case. They open saying days after Goldman Sachs agreed to fork over nearly $4 billion to the Malaysian government as penance for aiding and abetting the criminals who looted more than $4 billion from 1MDB, former Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak has been found guilty on 7 charges related to the scandal. The charges were handed down more than 2 years after Razak's arrest and more than a year after his first trial began. Article reminds us that the former Prime Minister was swept out of office a few years ago in a wave of reformist sentiment as the depredations of his administration fueled a tremendous public backlash. Shortly after the verdict was handed down, the former leader and politician was sentenced to 12 years in prison, a sentence that, if it stands, could encompass the rest of the 68-year-old Razak's natural life. The former Prime Minister was found guilty on all counts, including abuse of power, money laundering, and criminal breach of trust. The current trial relates to $10 million that was deposited into Razak's personal bank account through 1MDB. Razak claimed that some $700 million deposited into personal accounts under his control had been given to him by a member of the Saudi royal family. The judge read out an elaborate 2-hour ruling on Tuesday, saying the sentence was appropriate and proportionate, taking into account that Najib had committed the crime from a position of trust as Prime Minister, his final plea, and the need to deter others from committing the same crime. Another new article on this today in the New York Post explains how Malaysian and American authorities say some $4.5 billion was looted from 1MDB in a scheme helmed by Malaysian fugitive businessman Jho Low. Some of the money was allegedly used to finance the Oscar-nominated movie The Wolf of Wall Street and to make lavish purchases, including a $27 million pink diamond necklace for Najib's wife. We've also mentioned in previous videos how back in 2017, Leonardo DiCaprio, who is close friends with Jho Low, had to turn over a Marlon Brando Oscar and other gifts allegedly bought with these stolen 1MDB funds. Throughout the case, we've also been following authorities' efforts to recover other assets allegedly purchased with stolen 1MDB funds, including this infamous 300-foot super yacht once owned by Jho Low. This vessel, formerly owned by Zhou Luo, was put up for sale in October of 2018 after being seized as part of global attempts to recoup assets allegedly bought with money embezzled through the state fund. Other items sought include a $3.8 million diamond pendant he gave actress Miranda Kerr, as well as a $3.2 million Picasso painting he gifted Leonardo DiCaprio. Meanwhile, just earlier this month, the U.S. Department of Justice asked an American court to allow it to seize another $7 million in artwork linked to 1MDB, including 2 Warhol paintings, an apartment in Paris, and millions of dollars held in Swiss bank accounts. In the documents filed with the U.S. District Court for the Central District of California, officials from the DOJ's Money Laundering and Asset Forfeiture section claimed the artwork, property, and money was owned or controlled by people it accuses of being involved in the plunder of 1MDB, including the accused mastermind of the fraud, Malaysian financier Zhou Luo. Later in the same article, they explained that the DOJ is also seeking $19.7 million held in an account at Banque Privée Edmond de Rothschild that it alleges belongs to another figure it claims was involved in the 1MDB swindle, Kadem El Kabasi. El Kabasi, the former boss of Abu Dhabi's state-owned International Petroleum Investment Company, was later sentenced to 15 years jail by a court in the Gulf country over corruption allegations reportedly unrelated to 1MDB. I have mentioned in previous videos how Rothschild Bank was caught breaking anti-money laundering rules in the 1MDB case, while earlier this year, Luxembourg's finance watchdog suspended the former CEO of private bank Edmond de Rothschild, Marc Ambrosian, for a decade, no longer allowing him to work in finance in the country over that period. An additional $9.7 million in cash and shares held by Luo associate Jasmine Liu in an account at Falcon Private Bank in Switzerland should also be forfeited, the DOJ claims. Liu also faces charges in Malaysia over 1MDB. They add that her current whereabouts is unknown. The DOJ said all the assets and cash are the proceeds of money siphoned off from 1MDB through a series of complex financial frauds engineered by Luo between 2009 and 2014. Luo, who is believed to be somewhere in mainland China, held no formal role at 1MDB, but was close to former Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak. Altogether, Zhou Luo is expected to give up to $900 million in assets linked to the 1MDB scandal. Looking at one final article here, they add that today's news makes Razak the country's first prime minister to be convicted in a criminal court. The current trial is regarded as the least complex of the 5 trials arising from the scandal. 2 others are already underway. Quote here says, "The verdict affirms the long-time accusations of corruption. It's a vindication of all the hard work to bring this corruption to light." However, they conclude here by quoting one constitutional lawyer who suggests that anti-corruption campaigners in the country should defer their celebrations for now. He said, "Najib can still appeal the decision to the Court of Appeal and Federal Court. It is a positive start for a revival of the rule of law in Malaysia, but it's not the end of the story yet." Please leave a comment and tell me what you think about this latest update. If you could give this video a thumbs up, click the like button, that's greatly appreciated, and make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Again, I'd like to give a big thank you to everybody that's been sharing these videos and sharing the channel with others to help get the information out there. And as always, thank you very much everybody who has supported the channel over at Patreon or PayPal, or with your super chats as well. It's very much appreciated. Even just a few dollars makes a huge difference, helps me keep talking about these issues. You can find both links down in the video description, patreon.com/realityreader or paypal.me/realityreader, where you can support this channel directly. And another quick reminder, you can also find me over on Twitter for more updates. @realityreader is my name over on Twitter. I will follow up soon. Thanks again.